me in the creek, down that old cotton field. G'day, how's it going? So, as I was explaining before to the previous video, I'm making this little video not because I want to get rich, not because I want attention, not because it's cool. I'm doing it because I'm hoping it makes me feel better. Because I carry a lot of tension after interactions with people, and I feel like everyone's a bit stressed out lately. And so they're taking it out on each other because it's easier, especially if someone's approachable, if they seem similar to you. I can't do this, it's getting too heavy. I haven't been working out that much, so I'm carrying this camera, and it's a solid camera. I just can't see the views or anything. If I fuck it, I'll stop being a little bitch. I'm just gonna man up and carry it. I'll start again. I'll put it down here. I'll see if it works. Let's do this in one take, because I watch podcasts a lot, a hell of a lot. It's my life, and so I know all the little things that annoy me. It annoys me when it looks like something's highly edited. It also annoys me when something is too rough. If it looks like these comedians are not taking it seriously. So I've learned from that. I'm just going to check if it's working. Also, there's something beautiful about doing things in one take, and those little awkward bits. I remember the Bill Burr podcast from years ago where he had an electrician come to the front house, middle of the podcast. It was a little bit awkward, but it's also a sense of authenticity, and Bill just kept rolling with it. That's professional. Let me just see if I'm in frame. Yeah, I mean, it's a really terrible shot, but it's the best we can do, right? Okay, hopefully I'm in frame. One last check. How can I check? If I'm sitting here, I don't want to stop the film. So right now, I'm in Brisbane, which is in Queensland, Australia. I drove here with my girlfriend Katya and our dog Sapphire from Melbourne. It took about 18 hours to get here. We came here because we wanted to get out of Victoria, just for a little bit. Victoria's been pretty rough the past year. Strictest lockdowns in the world. And I work in mental health, so this is my bread and butter, to analyse human behaviour and social commentary, and it's relevant to me, and I feel for people. When people are upset and it's like a global thing and it's getting worse, I notice that. I can't just let sleeping dogs lie. It's very hard to just sit back comfortably and just enjoy luxuries of life when you see so much problems going on. It reminds me of District 1 inside Hunger Games, whereby this small part of the human race who are born into exclusivity, they are extremely satisfied in whatever they're told to be satisfied in. Lavish eating, eccentric fashion, overconsumption, dinner parties, drinking to excess. And it's pretty easy for human beings to find peace in whatever world they're in. As long as you have the basic necessities of food and shelter, everything else, your core morals, are up for debate, and they're up for. They can be impressioned. They can be shaped by a charismatic leader, someone like a celebrity or a politician. Kind of installs in you what you should value, Because if you look what happened in Germany in 1940s, it seems like the people were easily influenced to join the Nazi soldiers. And I think that there's a certain part of us that are like that today. Just regular folk in pretty wealthy countries like Australia we can just be influenced what to value. And maybe in the future, they'll look back on us just as we look back on the Nazi soldiers now. Perhaps they'll think, why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you intervene? How can you just turn a blind eye? Like a few people have been really rude to us at this hotel. There's a huge complex now of anyone who works in retail hospitality where they feel like they're all essential workers, and customers should just be so grateful that they're even working, because customer service representatives feel like they are on the front line. They are the modern day equivalent of like a nurse who is on the front line in Berlin, like thousands, millions of people getting shot up, and they are there to save the day. People are just hotel staff, restaurant staff. Now I've been in hospitality and retail for 12 years. I'm 30 now, so I know a bit about it. I'm not a regular person who's born into wealth and judging people like I don't know anything about it. It's really through my veins. My father was a bartender for many years when he met my mum. My little sister was. My little brother Connor, his first job was at Coca-Cola Cafe in 2J. Hospitality and dealing with people is my business. And I had this huge, intense argument with my little brother the other day. He was saying, how could you defend someone who put in a complaint against a business, a brutal complaint, against really rude customer service? Because me personally, I never had a complaint about my personality in 12 years until the last year I was working in the industry. And then I realized I need to get out. If you're snapping at customers, perhaps you should try a change of industry. Now, it may seem really hard, but if you make a few phone calls, work on your resume, get a nice suit, whatever, it's pretty easy to get your foot in your door in a desk job, which is comfortable. You get there at 8:30 to 5, and you just answer phone calls, write emails, and you're not dealing with many people face to face, so you can really avoid any conflict. So if you're not happy with your position, why stay there and resent the people you're working for? Because we're all servants. The United States of America is a servant. I'm a servant. And you shouldn't judge people if they're rude to you, because psychologists are like really expensive and frowned upon. Right? There's a stigma against receiving help. So a lot of the times it's through necessity. It's not because they're personally attacking you because they don't like you. It's because there's a desperation. And there's like a standard. You expect someone in customer service will be able to hold their emotions, and you can always tell someone off in a suave way without actually making the person feel like dirt. Like, for example, when I came into this hotel, there's just a few things missing that were advertised, and I told them like in a very calm way. I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Concierge, I'd just like to discuss a few things with you." And I could just really feel that they hated me so much, and I don't like to be hated. It makes me feel like dirt. Like I'm an empath. I feel it in strange places in my body. When someone doesn't like me, it hurts, and that's not right, because I wasn't trying to be a bad person. It's funny because the worst things in life have been done by people with the best intentions. Like, oh, I didn't mean to hurt this person's feelings, but you have to check yourself, because I think I'm right, they think they're right, but you need to constantly check in history, check with other people with different personalities, not just gender, race, age. You can have a room with 100 people, every ethnicity in the world, every age, every gender, every sexual orientation. But they could all have the exact same philosophies and attitudes in life. So if you have friends who are different ages, different colours, different genders, different sexual orientations, it doesn't mean you're really diverse. You could be totally funneled into your little world that just keeps confirming your way of doing things. So how do you really know if you're getting like a balanced perspective on things unless you really get multiple sources, like from history, and use your intuition to judge a little bit of what's right for every single person? Because if you put all your eggs in one basket and just assume that the philosophies you've chosen in life is correct, it's really dangerous, because it's impossible to see what you look like unless you're in an outsider's perspective. When you're in a little zone, a little group of people, it's impossible for you to know how others view you. Perhaps you could be, Genghis Khan. You could be Joseph Stalin. You could be General Mao. You could be Adolf Hitler. You could be Dan Andrews. You don't know. That's why it's so important to look to history, look to different cultures as well. Not just different races, but like different cultures. Like within a certain city, like I heard in Italy, there's like 100 different dialects, right? So you can just go a few hours away, drive, talk to people there, and get a totally different perspective on things. I really feel like it's a tough world now to want to go out and spend money or do anything. I really feel like we're trying. There seems to be like an agenda to make people not want to go out anymore, just to stay at home, because everything is so difficult. Like for example, checking into a hotel, a 5-star hotel, you have to push your own stuff on the little trolley. You can't have someone help you. They put it on there for you, but they can't bring it up to your room. And when the concierge told me, he was this close to my face. He was like, "Oh, sorry, mate. Even though I'm only 1 meter from you right now, I can't take your stuff up for you." There's just no reason. Logic has gone out the window. I thought the one thing that separates from apes was our love for reason. Like things that just make sense based on science and intuition and cross-cultural validation. Cross-cultural validation is very important. Let me define that for you. That's defined as not just in your culture now, other countries around the world, and even your country at different times. Because the current values now, you can never be sure that they are 100% right. You need to look to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 100, 200 years ago, 500 years ago. Because every generation in history thinks that they're right, the last one was silly, and in the future, they'll look upon the past as they were just good. But the word good has so much baggage, right? Because we think good is just the absence of evil. But like Jordan Peterson said, most people think they're good people, but you're probably just a slightly bad person. Like me, I always thought I was a good person, but I'm probably slightly bad, just like most people. And it's hard to know if you're good unless you really, really study different perspectives on things. For example, let's say someone born in a small town in Tennessee, in America, they may think that country music is everything. Where someone is born and raised in the inner suburbs of Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, they may think that drum and bass is everything. But you don't know unless you go out there and talk to all these different types of people that what is considered normal. Like for example, at this hotel, it seems really normal for like the staff to just be really casual. And like I was at Starbucks before, I hate Starbucks, but I was only there to try and book a hotel. And the staff talking about where they're going to go sleep on their break in their car. And it's nice to be easygoing, right? But it's also good to have a small sense of professionalism, because you want to have a sense of tradition, of routine, something that you can cling to, because this world is so unpredictable. We don't know if we're ever going to be locked down by a government. It's nice to know that there's something you can rely on, a sense of something that's bigger than yourself. You'd hope that your own personal mood is not the most important thing. Sometimes it's better to squash your own temporary happiness for the good of community overall. Like, I would love to tell my clients my political views, but I don't, because obviously it's unprofessional and it's illegal and it's just immoral. And it's nice to know there's something bigger than me. If I'm trying to constantly be happy all the time, too much democracy and free will will just end you to corruption. Because you need to have some restrictions, because the humans, we will just constantly seek pleasure if we don't have discipline and structure. Yeah, I feel like this entire video has been really, really shocking. I don't know if I've been made much sense, because it's been really flustered today, and I thought, why don't you make a nice little video? Why don't you make a little blog? But I feel like it's been pointless. I don't feel any better. I almost feel like even more anxious, because I feel like, do I even have it anymore? Do I even have any gift of the gab? Or am I just a regular person that has a huge ego? But then again, I do watch a lot of podcasts. I do. I'm on the internet a lot. So I really feel like I'm a bit different from others. But then everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks they're a little bit different from everyone else. I remember I did this psychology unit called Psychology 101, and there were 30 students in this class, and the tutor, gave out a A4-sized couple of paragraphs description of like a unique personality. And the tutor asked everyone, do they think that was personalized, written about them? Yes or no? Now, out of 30 people in that class, 29 out of 30 thought that this description was about them only, except for me. But it was generic, and it was kind of like tooting your own horn. It was a very glamorous. It was like just making you feel special, making you feel you're a bit different, a bit bad, a bit naughty, a bit cheeky, a bit how's it going? But everyone thinks that about themselves, right? So it's really hard to know. Are you being arrogant? Am I being arrogant, narcissistic by thinking I'm special? Because everyone thinks that. Or do I have to rock this attitude until I make it? Because like Frank Sinatra, I watched a documentary of him the other day. People told him he wouldn't make it. But he kept hustling and he kept grinding, and he did. Well, I think what you do is you try it for a couple of years, right? You try it for a couple of years. If it's not working after a few years, maybe you're not meant to be. Maybe you should try another profession. If it doesn't work, then, if you're giving it all you can, if you're giving 110%, and after a few years you still don't make it, it's time to move on, right? But how many people in history have everyone tell them, you're not going to work, you're wasting your time, you're eccentric, you're a lunatic, just get a regular job and stop rocking the boat. You're upsetting others by trying to think you can make it. It's happened to a lot of people, right? And how many people do you know are an Elon Musk type character that could really change the world? They could offer like renewable energy. They could offer millions of jobs. They could offer so much wisdom, like role models. Because right now we have no role models. Why do you think there's so many young people who are alcoholics? Why is there so many old people who are obese? Why is there so many people who are addicted to games? We have no one to respect, no one to admire. I don't know who to admire. I look on the television, Scott Morrison, he says his entire job is to focus on the Australian economy. But the economy was stronger in the 80s, and what do people do then? What do people do in the 1980s? What do the boomers do? They bought lots of houses, they went on lots of cruises. It makes no sense to focus on the economy solely, because many countries that focus on the economy solely have just gone down a downward spiral. Look what happened to the Spanish. They got so much silver from the Aztecs, right, when they took over South America, but because they got so rich and powerful, they lost everything because they were so greedy. They were so greedy that they lost any integrity, anything that bigger than themselves. They just had this look in their eye like, gold, I want gold. But like, why? Like, because we're all searching for meaning, right? We're all searching for meaning. So gold, wealth, it seems like the right thing to do, because it's like, okay, I can get more of it. I can buy food. I can buy shelter. I can get friends. I can go to the casino. Of course, it makes sense. But then again, once you get there, you may realize it's been a trick and you're wasting your whole life. But I'm not here to promote people to stop trying to be rich, because you need to be rich now, or at least rich enough so you can avoid the terror of like trying to deal with check-ins and all these little things in life. I feel like there's an agenda now to not go out anymore. Like it's just so hard to do anything. What do I mean by it's hard to do anything? Like, you have to bring your own furniture in, and it feels like it's like customer versus staff now. It's like it's a war. I feel like it's always us versus them, and it's so easy to put someone in a category like, you know what, you're other, I'm me, and you're other. So because you're other, I'm not even going to give you any critical thought. I'm just going to like assume that you're the enemy, you're just a piece of shit, and I'm a god. You're a piece of shit and I'm a god. That's what it feels like. Customer versus staff. Like, it's so tribal. It's like Fremantle Dockers versus West Coast. It's like saying America versus Canada. You know, it's so strange, because it's never like good versus evil. Like movies and all these books and songs have conditioned us to thinking that is a good and there's evil. But it's complicated in life. It's never as easy as good versus evil. Never. There's always subtleties to it. I can't think of any situation obviously there's crazy sick people out there, like just want to watch the world burn. But majority of people, it's complex. Majority of people, they're good and bad. Now, we're tribal people, right? For millions of years, we've been using cognitive shortcuts. Sorry, I need just deep breathing right now, because I feel like people cannot understand you unless you're really calm. And I'm a very animated person, and I don't do enough sport, so I have all this built up energy that's just bursting at the seams, like a kettle full of water that's been boiling, constantly boiling, but there's not enough holes on the top, there's not enough outlets, so the steam is trying to find any exit point to fall out from. And if you can't find an exit, it's just going to come out any way it can, irrationally. It's going to almost blow up. God, it's good to talk. I don't know why. I feel a little bit better now. I feel like those 5 minutes or this past half an hour that have been good. But I also feel like no one is going to pay attention because I don't look successful. I don't play the games. I feel like because I have scruffy hair, I'm unshaven, I talk as if I'm rather uneducated, people will assume that I'm just garbage. Have you heard of the Stanley Milgram experiment? It's a psychological experiment whereby we ascertain that as a society, we just blindly trust people of authority if they have a white coat on. If you're a scientist that has a white coat on, we will do anything you say. In the Milgram experiment, randomly sampled people were asked to use a machine and press a button from like 1 to 100, inflicting pain on someone in the other room who hadn't seen. But there actually wasn't any person in the other room. So these participants, they would press these torture buttons from like 1 to 100 and they would get like a fake sound of crying from the other room. Obviously, like getting worse. And at level 100 would be like ah! Well, that was a bit loud. Almost scared the whole goddamn Brisbane city now. Everyone's looking at me. Shit. Everyone's looking at me. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. I screamed. People looking at me. I was just trying to make a point. I was just trying to be dramatic. Because I know everyone's attention span's so terrible. I need to do something drastic just so people don't flick the channel. Not that I want people to stay on me, but I just, for their sake, in case there is something gold in what I'm saying, if I do these little tricks to keep you interested, maybe it'll be worthwhile. See, I'm starting to feel terrible again after that interaction. How I just screamed out there. I'm feeling this huge, like, pit, a huge, like, swampy pit in my chest and stomach of, like, despair. Like, ooh, I can't believe I just did that. You know, I've just broken the social mold. Like, I'm supposed to be a classy man. I'm 30 years old. I should act a certain way. Oh boy. So I've deleted Facebook and Instagram today. Yesterday, actually. Because I felt like what I'm doing is putting Facebook statuses up and little videos that are not really edited. It's stopping me from actually putting effort into a better video, right? For example, if I didn't have Facebook and Instagram, how else would you share things to the world? Well, in the old days, they used books, they used films, they used even podcasts, which are new. There's more effort into it, edited. And the convenience of being able to upload a little video of Instagram perhaps has stalled me from actually doing more eventful work. Now, of course, there is millions or billions of people, whatever, who use those apps successfully, so it's very easy to look at me and be like, Chevy, what are you talking about? Instagram and Facebook are the greatest. Well, they can be great. Those things can be great, but if you're like me and you just need to feel like you've done something, have things on your chest, and so once it's easy to get that, like instant noodles, like get that little fix without doing the proper job. So if I didn't post little videos on Instagram, didn't post these philosophical little statuses on Facebook, I would have written a book, maybe would have filmed a whole movie. But because I'm getting that satisfaction from those couple of likes, couple of comments, it's stopping me from trying harder. And so I feel like it's much, much better to delay your gratification in so many things in life. Don't go the instant noodles. Go the proper noodles. They cook things from scratch. It's about the journey, not the destination. Everyone's so caught up on that final result, that flavor, that the instant hit, and that's what's killing us. It's killing us. Our culture, our personality. It's killing us. Is that we want everything now, and it's so much better if you wait. It's much better if you wait for things. If you delay it. If you make sure it's better quality, because yes, of course, it's nice to have things like immediately, a quick little video. But if you're trying to hustle like me, if you're just a bum and you're trying to get to some amount of success just so you haven't wasted your life or your parents' life. Like my parents, they worked really hard to raise me. They could have lived an easier life without raising kids. But no, they chose to devote their 30s to raising 2 children, right? And then 3 in their 40s. So it's not about you. You think, like, I have this friend of mine, he makes a lot of money, but he doesn't know what to do with it. So he spends it on things for instant pleasure, because we're not trained what to do with your money. We don't know what to do with it. What to do with your money. You get a fast car, you get a home, you get a partner. You go to the casino, you go to a little holiday. That's it. That's not meaningful for most people. If you have half a conscience, if you're a spiritual person, those things don't offer you validation. So what's the motivation? I bet, like, all my life I was trying to avoid success, because I know so many successful people who are corrupt and have no soul. And once you get to a point of success, people come after you and use it, right? Like Mariah Carey, Dave Chappelle, a celebrity. Once they get to a point of success, it's not about them anymore. People will make them keep working because you're making them money. And so there's always people smarter than you. There's always people smarter than you who can manipulate you. I know. I've been manipulated my whole life. Okay? And so it's very dangerous to be successful, especially if you're really young and you haven't, you're not aware of manipulation. So I'm glad that I wasn't successful when I was very young, because it would have gotten to my head and I would have been corrupted. I would have been up selling Ajax, using my my genetics, using my youth, using my the beautiful personality of my parents and the culture and ancestors. Like, people always think it's about them. They think, oh, the reason why I'm a millionaire is because I'm a hard worker, like, it's all me. But hold on, who gave you that face? Who put you in that rich country? Huh? Who gave you that iPhone? Which doctor helped give you birth? Right? Which nutritionist advised you of the alkaline diet, or the fact that you need to, like, the necessity of different food groups and less processed food? Like, we really underappreciate how much we're like a beehive. We're an interconnected community. We're like an ant hive. We think we're so separate single organisms, but we're all kind of the same thing. And I feel like people not realizing that it's us versus them. It's customer versus guest. It's never like we are just one vibrating consciousness that we need to recognize and work together, because if you work together, then we can all learn something. The bum on the street, the CEO of the biggest company in the world, all have something to tell you. But we're trained to think you should only talk to someone if you can get something from them. If there's a momentary value, something you can extract from them immediately. People are so A versus B, especially with the caffeine lifestyle we're in now. Like, the main error, the main drug that defines 2020 would be caffeine. And what it does is it enables you to focus on a task at hand, but not look at the big picture. The caffeine, what it does, the receptors in your brain, it just opens them up. It forces the floodgates to be open. So it tricks you to thinking that you're under attack. The flight or fight response is activated. So what you're doing when you drink this tasty bean frothy beverage is you're tricking your brain to thinking that you're under attack. So what you're doing, you're not thinking creatively. You're just, okay, let's get this threat sorted, right? So the problem is this caffeine lifestyle we're in. It's making us so satisfied with just our own little world. We're not wondering, what does this people think about? What would someone with like a totally different personality imagine this? We're so funneled into our little world. And it's the shockingest thing is, like, no one really cares about this stuff. Like, why am I making this video right now when my girlfriend's in the gym, right? I've just spent 2 days trying to organize a hotel. I'm paying like a week's wage just to pay for this room right now. And it makes no sense. I'm doing it because I love my girlfriend. And I'm trying to make allowances in life, and I have to do something, A man has to do something. You have to believe in something. You can't just live in a constant state of euphoria. What was that movie, like the goblins underground versus the people, I remember this, there's this movie, sorry, this is a bit of a rant, but there's this powerful movie analogy where some people, half the race lives in a constant state of euphoria, and there's these people who live underground, and they are like the servants, right? And the people who live in constant state of euphoria, they don't even notice that sometimes people from underground snatch up and grab one of them and eat them and bring them down. But they don't even care. Like, it's a real danger to just live in a constant state of bliss. Now, people think, oh, I'm not in a constant state of bliss. I go to work, I have to stuck in traffic, I have to, wait for my coffee. But, of course, we need some struggle. But it's so easy to find just a regular routine struggle which satisfies that need within you, and stops you from trying to think bigger. Like, it's so shocking in Brisbane. I feel like it's the 1990s here. They have all the technology in the world, but it hasn't really evolved. Like, the way they speak, the fashion, their values, like, they didn't care about Victoria. Like, when I try and discuss anything what happened with the situation lockdown, like, people are like, oh yeah? Oh, true. Oh, you're pretty rough, eh? Like, it just seems like nobody cares about something unless